I didn't laugh that night. Everyone else did. Our friends, neighbors, even the principal of our son's school. They thought it was just a harmless, funny moment on stage. But I sat there, frozen in the middle of the gym bleachers, pretending to smile while my stomach turned into a knot. Because the joke wasn't really a joke. It was a confession disguised as comedy. It was the annual school talent show. My wife, Sa, had signed up for the parent segment, saying she wanted to do a light-hearted stand-up routine to make the kids laugh. She'd always been funny, sharp, quick with words, the kind of person who could make a room relax just by talking. I was proud of her for it. But that night, something felt off from the start. She was nervous, not in her usual charming way, but jittery, pacing, avoiding eye contact with me. When I asked if she was okay, she said, "You'll see. It's going to be great," and gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. When her name was called, she walked to the center of the stage, adjusted the mic, and started talking about married life. It was funny at first, little jokes about dirty laundry and whose turn it was to wash dishes. Everyone laughed, but then she shifted. "So, you ever have one of those marriages where your husband doesn't really notice when you get a new haircut?" she said, pacing like a pro comedian. "Or when you start going to the gym again, not because you want to be healthy, but because your personal trainer's compliments actually sound like they mean something." The audience chuckled. I did too, weakly. Then she said it. "Yeah, my trainer, Ben, is amazing. Always tells me I'm doing great. Unlike my husband, who only notices when the Wi-Fi's down or the fridge's empty." Laughter filled the room. People were clapping, enjoying her married life comedy bit. But my ears were ringing. My face went hot. Ben. I knew that name. I'd heard it before, once, maybe twice, when she mentioned joining a new fitness class after work. "He's strict," she'd said, "but encouraging." I remember now how she used to come home late on Thursdays, cheeks flushed, hair slightly damp. She said they'd started doing evening sessions. I never questioned it. I trusted her. But then she kept going. "You know, sometimes when you're married long enough, you start confusing comfort with love," she said, her tone softening. "And sometimes it takes a stranger to remind you you're still alive." A ripple of laughter passed through the crowd again, though this one was quieter. A few people shifted uncomfortably. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to stand up, grab her hand, and pull her off that stage. But I didn't move. I just sat there, feeling like the whole room was spinning. She finished the set with a few more jokes, smiled wide, and bowed as everyone clapped and cheered. To them, it was entertainment. To me, it was betrayal, served with a punchline. When we got home, the silence was deafening. She took off her shoes at the door, tossed her purse on the counter, and said casually, "Well, that went better than I expected." "Better?" I said, my voice trembling. "You humiliated me. You told everyone." "Relax, Mark," she interrupted. "It was a joke." "A joke?" I stepped closer. "You said his name. Sa. You stood on stage and joked about feeling alive with another man. Do you even hear yourself?" She stared at me for a long moment, her face blank. Then she said quietly, "Maybe you should have heard me before tonight." That one line hit harder than anything. I realized what she meant. The late nights, the distance, the way she stopped reaching for me in bed. It all made sense now. She'd been trying to tell me she was unhappy. And instead of listening, I'd been too busy with work, deadlines, and the illusion that our life was fine. But none of that justified what she did. I walked out that night. I didn't even grab a jacket. I sat in my car in the driveway for hours, replaying her voice in my head. Sometimes it takes a stranger to remind you you're still alive. The next few days were brutal. Everyone at school and in the neighborhood was talking about Sa's hilarious performance. People texted me clips. They tagged her on Facebook, writing things like, "Funniest mom ever." Each time I saw it, I felt my chest tighten. She hadn't just cheated on me. She turned our pain into a public spectacle. I didn't confront Ben. I didn't even need to. She confessed 2 days later, standing in the kitchen, crying. "It wasn't serious," she said. "It was a mistake. I was lonely. You were so distant. He made me feel seen again." I asked, "Do you love him?" She hesitated just long enough for me to know the truth. We separated quietly a week later. No screaming matches, no dramatic exits. Just a long, silent understanding that whatever we'd built had already crumbled beyond repair. I didn't tell anyone the real reason. I let them think we drifted apart. I didn't want to give her what she'd already taken, my dignity. But I did something else. Something that felt small at first, but in hindsight was my quiet revenge. 3 months later, the school sent out an email asking for parent volunteers for the next talent show. They needed someone to handle the event video production. I signed up. When the night came, I stood behind the camera as other parents performed. The gym was packed again, laughter echoing just like before. But this time, I was calm, detached. At the end of the show, they played a highlight reel of last year's performances. I'd edited it myself. The audience laughed at the clips, singing dads, dancing moms, awkward skits. Then Sarah appeared on screen, MIC in hand, saying her infamous line, "Sometimes it takes a stranger to remind you you're still alive." The crowd laughed again. But this time, I'd added something new. Right after her line, I spliced in a slide that read, "Sometimes it takes the truth to remind you who you really are." And then the reel faded out. People clapped. No one seemed to notice the change except her. She was in the audience, sitting near the back. When the words appeared, she froze. Our eyes met across the room. For the first time since everything fell apart, she looked ashamed. I didn't stay for the rest of the show. I slipped out quietly, walked to my car, and sat there in the same spot as before. Only this time, I wasn't shaking. I just breathed. She had turned my pain into a joke, but I had turned it back into truth. And for the first time in months, that truth didn't hurt anymore. It felt like freedom.